Hello and welcome once again to our data analytics masterclass. In this class, we will be teaching you about Microsoft SQL Server. And I'm excited to introduce this Microsoft SQL Server and how to write SQL queries in this class. However, before we go on, I would like you to do me a quick favor. Kindly click the subscribe button, share this video, and also comment so that we can get your feedback on this video. Now, to the crux of what we are here to do today. What is Microsoft SQL? It is a relational database management system developed by Microsoft. And as one of the leading database systems, Microsoft SQL, also known as MS SQL, is used by many organizations around the world, specifically in this part of the world where we are today. To manage and store their data efficiently, people use relational databases. And what are some of the key features of Microsoft SQL? Its scalability and performance. Microsoft SQL offers very robust performance capabilities that handles large-scale databases and makes it deal with both small businesses and large enterprise. It is highly secured, and you can integrate Microsoft SQL seamlessly with other Microsoft products such as Microsoft Azure, Microsoft Power BI, and Microsoft Visual Studio, as well as other tools as well. Now, this is a major tool for data analysts to use and DBAs as well, database administrators specifically. And one of the other key features is that it is highly available for people to use for anything they would like to use it for. Now, some of the use cases of Microsoft SQL is that it could be used for e-commerce, where you manage customers' order, inventory, transactions efficiently. It can be used for banking, where you handle large volume of financial transactions securely. It could be used for healthcare. It could be used for education. It could be used for immigration. For the purpose of our class today, right, we will be talking about the data sets that we've been using all along for the series of this class. If you're looking for the link to download the data sets, please click on the link in the description below. Microsoft SQL is not just a database, but a powerful platform that can support your organization's data. And whether you're a developer, you're a database administrator, you're a data analyst, Microsoft SQL provides that tool and capability that you will need to succeed. Now, to the crux of why we are here today, I'll quickly want to introduce you to what Microsoft is really all about. And you will probably get to see in this class why we should take Microsoft SQL very importantly. So, what is SQL? SQL stands for Structured Query Language. It is a specific computer language designed to talk to databases. Think of a database like a giant organized filing cabinet, and SQL is the way we ask it questions to find information that we need. And earlier on, we had talked about some of the use cases and common uses in data analysis, statistical modeling, and bioinformatics, as well as financial analysis. Now, what are examples of SQL? I used to tell people that SQL is just basic English language. SQL basically uses verb phrases and clauses, and verb are usually action words. And whenever you are using action words, you attach something to that action word for it to be a complete sentence. You attach something to that action word. Now, the example you are seeing on the screen is an example of a relational database that we want to query the name of an animal type from a database table called pet store, right? And as you can see on the screen, all I needed to do is just click on one, select over here, select the name from the database called pet store. And the animal type is a dog, right? And so when I run this SQL query in my SQL Management Studio, it will return the feedback for me, and I will know the name of the animal. Now, another example that we have, or now, I'd like to talk to you about basic SQL command. SQL command is all about CRUD, create, retrieve, update, and delete, right? And there are basic SQL commands that we would like to introduce you to. First of all, the select. The select is a verb phrase equivalent for trying to retrieve something or to fetch something. And so from the table pet store that we used as example earlier on, we said select from pet store. And then if I want to put something in pet store, I'm going to say insert into pet store. If I also want to update something in pet store, I will say update pet store and then give the particular equivalent of word that I want to give. And if I want to delete, I will also use the word delete. And if I want to create a table called pet store, I will use the action word create table pet store. So these are just basic examples. These are just basic examples that we would like to get you to be aware of. Now, let's get to the crux of the matter, the reason why we are in this class. Let's get our hands dirty and have some quick demo. Earlier on, we talked about our data set, immigration data set, which we have the link in the description if you want to access that particular data set. Now, we want to save this particular data set on this computer so that we can import it into Microsoft SQL. How are we going to go about this? We will click on File, and we will try to download this as a CSV, or we download it as Microsoft Excel. For the purpose of this class, I will choose CSV. And I will try to locate the file here. And I will try to rename this file immigration. Now, the next thing that we are going to do is to fire up our Microsoft SQL Management Studio. If you want to know how to install Microsoft SQL Management Studio, please click on the link below and you will see a link to Microsoft SQL and the Management Studio, where you can download those softwares and you can install it on your personal computer. In another video, we will be talking about SQL Management Studio, as well as SQL itself, where we will show you how to install them. But for the purpose of this video, we have gone ahead to install our SQL Management Studio, and we will just click on our SQL Management Studio from our menu bar to power up And when we get here, it will ask us to connect to our SQL. On connecting to our SQL, we will navigate over here to databases. In this database, we can decide to create any new database we want by right-clicking and say we want to create a new database. We will name this database as IMG data set, a short form for immigration data set. And we will click on OK. Yes, we got a file name empty. Why? Because we were trying to create something additional here, which we do not need. And so since we do not need this, we will try to remove it. And we'll click OK once again. Now that we have created our database, how do we import our data set into the Microsoft SQL? We will right-click and we will come over to task. And then we will say import flat file. And we will click on next. In this particular place, we will try to locate our file, our data set that we downloaded, which is a flat file. And we'll click on browse. And here we have our immigration data set, and we'll click on this. And we will leave the table to be immigration. And we will click next. And next. In this particular place, we are expected to define what we want as the primary key for our data set. Usually we use the ID, which is an integer. And then we click next. And we click finish. And we already have our data set up as a database in our SQL Server. Now, we are going to click on table to expand to see what we have here. Now, you will notice that we don't have our table for immigration here, but we can also click refresh and try to expand it again, and we will see our immigration database here. So what are we going to do? We will try to expand this as well, and we will try to also expand the columns as well. This will give us an idea of what all the columns are. Now, you'll be wondering, we've been able to set up our database and we've been able to import our data sets. What is the next thing that we will do to be able to view and query our data? Now, we will click on New Query to see a query pane where we can query our database and ask that question from our database. One interesting thing about databases is that when you ask many questions, you will always get an answer. And in real life situation, databases are always like this. So I'll take, for example, I want to see everything that is in my table in SQL. Remember we talked about select, right? And select actually means that we also want to try to fetch things from somewhere. So we'll click on, or rather we'll type select, and we'll put asterisk here. Asterisk means that I want it to select everything in the database. And I'll say from my database known as dbo.immigration. All I need to do is drag and drop it here. And I will then say I want to run my query. So for me to run my query, I will click on execute. And you see that I have all my query here as we have it in the data set. The question now is, how do I want to select specific columns that I want from this data set? All I need to do is remove the asterisks, which I use in selecting everything, and say I want to select, let's say maybe the ID. When I type the ID, it gives me an IntelliSense option where I will use my tab to complete the statement, and I'll put comma here. And I will also type name. And as you see, as I'm trying to complete it, it's giving me all the options that I need. And I'll put comma here. And I will also say I want to know, let's say, for example, the ports of entry. If I do not want to type, all I need to do is look for the particular table that says it's the port here. Or let's say I want to look for the gender, right? All I need to do is drag and drop gender here, and I'll separate it by comma. And if I also want to get, take for example, the visa type, I will drag this and put here, and then I'll press enter to take me to the next line, which we already have in our next line here, and say that I want to select just the ID, the name, the age group from this database, and I'll press execute. And I hope you can see that in our report view here, we can see exactly what I just selected. Now, let us take, for example, I want to select only people in Africa, right? I will create a new query here and say, select ID, name, or better still, I will drag all of them if I do not want to type. But in most cases, it is encouraged that you type, because as you type, it helps you to practice and know your queries very well. Put a comma here and say that I also want to get to know their names. And I'll put a comma here, and I want to also get to know the region they are coming from, and I also want to know their port of entry. Separate this by comma, and I will say I want to get all of this table from the database called BBO Immigration. And I'll press enter. And I'll say, but I want to put a condition there where the region which we have here is equals to Africa. And then I will close that argument here. And then the next thing I will do is press execute. Voila. And as you can see, we have everyone from the region Africa on this list. Now, this is a good example of how we've been able to show you how to use the select as well as the conditional statements in Microsoft SQL. In the next class, we'll be showing you more, and you need to stay tuned and connect to this channel to know more. Thank you, and see you in the next class.
Are you an immigrant looking to smash through the career barrier in the US or Canadian job market? Or are you looking to enhance your skills to advance your career? Join our Data Analytics Bootcamp and start your journey to success with in-demand data skills. Learn from our data expert and master the language of data and tools such as Microsoft Excel, SQL, Power BI, Python, and R programming. Become a problem-solving powerhouse and open doors to high-paying jobs and career advancement. Don't miss out on this opportunity. Visit our website to learn more and sign up. Your future begins here. Don't wait.